A new player has entered chat. This is the Digi and Aish Alpha Pro. If you've never heard of them before, neither have I. This is basically a brand new company, and they're actually coming out with a pretty unique and pretty competitive little DAC amp here. And today I'm going to be reviewing it. Now, this was sent out by Oppos, the audio store, and I got this kind of ahead of release. So this is the embargoed release. The build quality overall is pretty nice. It's a simple kind of rectangular box, like a lot of these DAC amps are. Nothing too special there, but the faceplate design is really nice, especially if you're a fan of kind of the nothing style of design. I would say that the build quality here is a level above brands like Topping, but not super crazy over the top quality either. Kind of just middle of the road for the quality for its asking price, which we'll get to in a second. The volume knob is actually really wonderful. It's got a lot of kind of buttery smooth resistance to it. It feels great to use, actually. It might be a little bit small, but it's overall pretty nice. Now, the LEDs on the front are going to be a make or break thing for a lot of people. I think that the design aesthetically looks awesome, and there actually is some very small functionality with them. One, it will show you the volume amount on the volume dial. They also have a couple modes. So there's 4 different modes. You can turn the LEDs on, off. You can turn them to kind of just pulse and go up and down in brightness, or you can turn these 2 LEDs on the front to be a kind of like a small visualizer of sorts. It looks pretty cool when you're playing music, actually. One thing I will say about these is that these things are bright, and so they're definitely noticeable basically at all times. Regarding the functionality, there's 4 buttons on the front. From left to right, it's power on and off and your LED control. Then you have your gain selection. Then you have your output selection, whether it's headphones, pre-outs, or line-outs. And then you have your various inputs. And this actually has your standard gambit of inputs: USB, coaxial, optical, Bluetooth, line-in, yeah, it's pretty standard here. One mode that I wish was here but isn't is that I wish you could have a mode that was like a bit of an auto switch, where if you plug in headphones, it would play out of the headphones. And then as soon as you unplug the headphones, it would go to the pre-outs and kind of switch back and forth. So you could just automatically plug in headphones and play there, and then unplug and play out the speakers. But it doesn't have that mode. Now, the specifications that I'm seeing are pretty good. The amplifier is actually a discrete Class AB amplifier circuit. The DAC is a 32-bit ES9039 MS Pro Sigma DAC, which I think this is my first time actually hearing. And the output's fairly decent as well. It's got 4 watts into 16 ohms. It puts out 5 volts RMS. And the DNR and SNR are like 133 dB. So as far as specification performance goes, this is pretty good. This is definitely a class in those all-in-one categories where you can basically run anything. You can run super demanding planars, or you can run IEMs. It's got good enough sonic and measurable performance to be easily playable with pretty much everything most people have. In fact, the power output of this is quite nice. There's definitely a lot of headroom for most headphones, and even really demanding headphones like Susvara Unveiled can run on this without any issues. Now, one missing thing here is going to be a remote. This doesn't come with a remote that I know of. It didn't come in the box, at least. And that is something where Aoun and Topping in this price category are going to stand a little bit ahead. And those are sort of brands that I would consider like direct competitors to this. You have things like the DX7 Pro Plus and things like the Aoun S9C. Those have some minor sound differences, but largely share a lot of similar specifications and similar capability. For actual sound quality, I think that this is impressive for one particular reason, actually, which is I don't think that they made any mistakes. I think that this is pretty much a relatively flawless amplifier. It doesn't have any standout characteristics that I would determine to be bad, which for a first off product is kind of impressive, actually. A lot of these companies have a bit of a growth period, but this actually seems like a relatively seasoned company. And I would be really curious to know if the owners or the designers of this had a bit more experience, because it's coming across like just any other high-end operating company at this point, especially with the fit and finish and the faceplate being like such a well-designed aspect to it. The sound quality also representative of that. There's not glaring issues. There's not too much brightness. It's not shallow on bass. But yeah, it's kind of refreshing to see a first product from a brand that looks like polished basically right out of the gate, which is awesome. So when it comes to its actual sonic performance, I think people will be fairly pleased with this. This has what I would consider to be like sort of a reference sound for solid state. It's not overly bassy. It's not overly harsh on the treble response. It's not too dark. It's not too bright. It's kind of just middle of the road, neutral, regular solid state performance. Now, I think that some people are going to be looking for that. Some people might want something a bit more enhanced in a particular category. So it's definitely kind of toes the line with what kind of reference solid state sound is. If you're coming from something like a topping DX7 or a DX5, I do think that the subtle changes to the treble response here is going to be a little bit better. This is going to be a little bit less grainy, a little bit less polished, and feels a little bit more high end to my ear, being just a little bit more refined up there without kind of the grittiness that some of those lower end topping amps can have. This is something that the higher end DX9 fixes, but I think that eclipses this price category quite a bit. So I don't know if that's necessarily a fair comparison. This was actually an advantage that I found the S9C to have over something like a DX7, where the S9C felt a little bit more polished and refined in the top end. It didn't seem as kind of, I don't know, want to say false necessarily, but it didn't seem as gritty up there as the DX7 did. Say you're coming from something like a regular Magni or a DX3 or something like that. I think the overall sound bump here is going to be like pretty major. This is a really notable step up in terms of its overall fidelity. It's going to seem just as clean, but again, it's going to have a little bit more refinement in the top end. I also think that the dynamic range bump, especially for bass response, is going to stand out as being pretty impressive. And it's just overall, just general tone cleanliness is going to be just a hair better than lower end solid state amps. Regarding things like tonality, this is like one of those blank slate type of amps. Your headphones will sound however your headphones sound. You're not going to have much influence from this. So if you're into sort of that kind of reference flat playing field, then that's going to be kind of who this is tailored to. One thing I will say, and this is sort of going to lead me into my conclusion, is that a lot of these kind of solid state DAC and amplifiers are starting to blend together fairly consistently for sound quality. This really sounds pretty close to something like an S9C. It doesn't sound all that much different. So yeah, I'd say that as far as sound quality goes, this does a good job of kind of matching the industry standard right now. And I'm not really sure that the industry standard is going to change all that much in the future. We'll definitely see, but it seems like a lot of these solid state amps are kind of hitting kind of a glass ceiling, so to speak, in terms of sound quality and neutrality, where they don't really seem to be getting a whole lot better than each other. And you just have a bunch of competitors that have very, very similar sound. So I would personally be really cautious of anybody claiming sweeping and broad sound changes from other competitive amps like this. That's not been my experience with this. I think that this does a good job of both for features and for sound quality being kind of par for the course for this price range. Now, the price range is, they've told me, although I haven't actually seen the price on the website because it hasn't launched yet as of recording this video, but they've told me that the price is aiming for under $700. And for that, I think that's a totally fair asking price. It's a really well-performing overall DAC and amp. It's got a couple missing features compared to some competitors, things like a remote, but I think there's some advantages to build quality here. And then, of course, you have the design, mostly of the faceplate, that I think is going to be extremely appealing to the right person. And if you're looking at like things like the DX7 Pro Plus or the AUN S9C, things with that sort of kind of dead neutrality sort of sound signature, I would personally just kind of decide based off of appearance. To be completely honest with you, I think that the sound quality is close enough within range of each other that the appearance day to day is going to be a little bit more important. Like having something that you look down and really enjoy the visual appearance of is going to matter, I think, more in the end than the sound quality differences, which is pretty minor. So super impressed with this being a first product. I really want to see where this company goes and see what they can do with higher budget stuff and lower budget stuff. I think everybody is looking for the budget space to be more competitive, and I'd like to really see what they can do with a lower end, cheaper amp. All right, there's links down below. Make sure you subscribe. Do it. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.